And we live. What's up, everyone? Hope everyone's having a good day so far. Sorry for the little break we had in between this stream and the previous one, but life happens. So the past is the past, can only control the future. So, or can only control the present, which controls the future. So, just start a little stopwatch here, and we're gonna get right into some Renshu and start learning some Japanese. So, let's continue to learn hiragana. Gohan means cooked rice. It's not a Dragon Ball character. Not just a Dragon Ball character, I should say. But, yeah, so, go. It's like, see the mnemonic. Snake being discouraged. That tells me that there's not really I guess maybe a distinctly good way to remember this. So let me see here. So I guess we just gotta remember it as being ko, but with a little squirt size going out right here. Ugh. Oh, fucking lovely tracing. Oh my goodness. Might be the best. This is like AI levels of high quality tracing. Good lord. I'm not on it today. Za, so it's like sa, but with those apostrophes. Zabuton. Zabuton. Sa plus diacritic. It's a diacritic. Oh, it's an accent. Could have just said accent. Oh, man. Okay. So it seems like a general rule of thumb is anything that really has these little squirt mark apostrophes at the top right, or I guess anywhere, the second letter stays the same. It's the first letter that changes. So like without the little squirt marks, this is ko. Now it's go. Without the squirt marks, this is sa, but now it's za. Of course, we got to do our tracing here. Help with the old memory bank. Good deal. There we go. G is like she, because there's that hook thing. But it's also got the little squirt marks at the top, right? Jikan. Good old time. I think knowing what the base sign is really helps, especially with these ones that have these little apostrophe squirt marks. Zu is like Tsu. Oh man. Need to wake up. Oh yeah. Forgot to flex off my coffee, so yeah, got the coffee right there. First sips of the day. Time to get activated. All right. Now we're on demon time. All right. Zundamochi. And then we got ze, which is like se, but obviously the squirt marks are present. Zeikin. Taxes. Fuck taxes. Gotta pay him though. time to study, and this is she. Zoo is this one because it's like Sue. That is Ku. Yeah. That is Ra. This might be a little 25% roll of the dice here. I think it's Ra. Oh, fuck yeah, it is. Hell yeah. Alright. We got Ko with the squirt marks at the top right. Says go. Wa. It's not this one, so it's got to be that one. Good old Re. I'm going to go. So this is the 33% chance roll of the dice right here. I want to say this, but I feel like I'm wrong. And I'm right. Nice. Ka. Ru. TikTok icon or TikTok icon with like a tail or some sort. Go TikTok icon. It is the other one. Good to know. Alright, this is Na, because he's like throwing away some trash. Chi. Chi is, I believe this one. Nice, good deal. U. U is the U that's tilted on its axis with the apostrophe over top. Mo. Mo is this one because it's got like the little mop thing going on at the bottom. Z. Z is this one because this is C, but then obviously you got the squirt marks at the top right there. We got G because she, the hook right there. And then obviously the squirt marks make it G. That is Ma because it's like the mast of a ship. Key is right here because that looks like a key. Ya. It's Gi because of the squirt marks. This is Hi. This one, not too sure what this one is. I want to say Me though. It is nice. This is Ni. Sue, because Sue got the dump truck right there. Se says this one. That is Za because of the squirt marks. Little apostrophe things. This one, I want to say Ga. I think it is Ga. Nice. This one is Ho because it's written sideways. This one is, I would say A, but that apostrophe right there is telling me to go O. Nice. Fu. Fu is that. Ko. Because it's like koi fish. Whoa. A whoa. This one. TikTok. TikTok icon. This one is. We'll go. Oof, this is a toughie. Ru. It is Ro. Unfortunate. N is the one that looks like the lowercase h. Ku, but with the apostrophes, it's Gu. Not even apostrophes, they're quotation marks technically, but. Yo. Yo is this one. I think this is no. It is no, because it almost looks like no, you know, if you squint real hard. Gi, or ge, rather. Ge is gonna be I think this one, because we said that ke was the one that looks like a keg, and obviously the G would look like that, but with the apostrophes present, or quotation marks present. He, because that's a heel sort of deal. Toe is this one. Te. Te is that one. Damn, we only missed 2. Holy shit. We're on fucking fire. This one, Ro. And then Ru must be that. Okay. So Ru's the one with the tail at the end. And, alright, let's see what kind of pull we get here. Oh shit. That's actually a fire pull. Nice. Alright, we're going to study 5 more terms. I wanted to spend a couple minutes to go over small kana with you. What do you think? Sure. Yuon are a combination of regular kana with a half-size version of kana. There are 3 of these smaller kana that you'll encounter. Kia is Kia. Kiyu is Kyu. And Kyo is Kyo. Kyo. There are too many lists here. Oh. So let's focus on the, what did we say this one was? Key? No, maybe. I don't remember. Anyways.
Key.
Oh, it is key. Hell yeah. See,
Key.
slowly but surely getting there, one day at a time. You can see these as combinations of the 2 characters. The I sound is always dropped and is replaced with the second character. Okay, so big sort of conjunction stuff going on here. Nice. So ki, ya.
Kya. Kya. Kya.
Kya is a combination of ki and ya. Okay. So anytime you see these next to each other, I guess you remove the second letter of whatever the first thing is and combine them as it's showing there. Likewise, Q is a combination of ki and yu. Kyo is a combination of ki and yo, as one would expect. She and chi.
Chi.
Chi are special, however. Their combination rules are a bit different. Okay, so it looks like for she and presumably for chi as well, you're removing the first letter of the second word as opposed to the second letter of the first word.
Sha. Shu. Sho.
This actually explains a lot, because one thing I noticed while watching that video of doing like the listening portion the last time is that they were speaking crazy fast. So by conjunctioning their words down, I see how that's possible. With these, the Y sound is dropped and the original vowel is replaced with the vowel from the second character. Yep. Okay. So sha is a combination of she and ya. Likewise, shu is a combination of she and you, obviously. And then last, sho is a combination of she and yo. There are several kana that can combine in this way, and you'll learn each of. Okay, cool. Zetsu
Tsu.
also has a small form referred to as sukuon. However, it does not combine sounds with the kana before it. Instead, it doubles. Instead, it doubles the constant sound that follows it.
雑誌
Zashi.
雑誌
Okay. Doubles the constant sound that follows it. Ah. What? Also has a small form referred to as sokuon. However, it does not combine sounds with the kana before it. Instead, it doubles the constant sound that follows it with...
雑誌
Okay, so essentially here the
雑
su,
誌
the su is quiet, and instead it acts as a sort of... Instead, the first letter, the last kana is stressed. Interesting. Definitely gonna take some getting used to these new rules we're learning, but shit. At least we're learning. You pronounce the su for the same amount of time you would any character, so think of shi, shi. Tap it out the lid. Okay. Lastly, the AIUEO katakana can be used in small form when trying to better abbreviate the pronunciation of foreign words.
あいうえお
Okay, so these are just obviously, as it says, small form versions of AIU, you know. Okay. Damn, they're just dropping some fucking knowledge on us like we're like Ty Lopez or some shit, bro. Going crazy right now. My brain working a million miles an hour. If you are using Romaji input on your device, type it all out all the way. Type it out the way it sounds. So typing sha would convert it to shia, sha.
しゃ
Okay. All right. Zo. Oh, Zo is elephant. So that makes sense why in One Piece the land on the back of the elephant's called the land of Zo. That makes a lot more sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually. That's pretty cool. Oh, yeah. Look at that tracing. Shit. Picture perfect. That's like refrigerator worthy.
ぞ
Zo. And as we can see, I think this is... Would this regularly be like so? And then with the apostrophes, it makes it zo. Da. T equals da. Okay, so normally this is... Damn, we got bots in the fucking building. You know what we do about bots in the fucking building? Block them. Ain't nobody got time for that. Anyways, so this is normally da, but with the squirt marks at the top right, it makes it ta or da. D/G, obviously, this is normally, I think, chi, but with these squirt marks at the top right, it makes it
じ
G. Expert tracing is expert, nice. Oh my god, suppose I'm not on the right thing. Why isn't this capturing now? Window capture. Boom. Alright. Holy shit. 20. I'm sorry, guys. 20 minutes with the fucking black screen? I'm sorry. Fuck. Be better next time. Densha is train. Make sure my bounds are set. Should be straight. Alright. So this is, I believe, sa, I want to say. But obviously with the squirt marks, it makes it Densha is train.
電車
Densha. Nomic. Do you know the way? Not sure I do, but fuck, we'll find it. Some more expert tracing for us. Do, obviously that's toe, but with squirt marks at the top right. Don't need the mnemonic for this if we understand what the base is. Alright, time to study. That is do. That is re. This one is new right there. Mo. Moo. Me is this boy right here. You. Da. D/G. Ta. I think A is this one. Nice. Tsu is this. Ka is this one. Sa is this one. I is this one. E. It's got to be that one because the other one is N. Ha is this one. I want to say Zo because of the squirt marks right here. Squirt marks are very telling. This is so. This one is. Let's see here. Okay. Fuck. It's da. No. Da. Alright. It's time to roll. See what we get out of this pack right here. Oh shit. That's actually a fucking epic, like, legendary pull, bro. There's only like 5 of these in existence. The rare JoJo's Bizarre Adventure collab. It's fucking sick. Jotaro right there. That's Brozam. Alright, let's keep powering through some hiragana. You got ba, banzai,
万歳
banzai,
万歳
banzai. So naturally this is ha, but with the squirt marks and the little water droplets right there, it's ba. Alright, obviously this is high regularly, but with a quotation marks, it makes it by.
美術
B. So it's B. Bijutsu.
美術
Bijutsu.
B
Beep.
B
Beep. discouraged cow. I don't even know how the hell this is a discouraged cow. I just see like a little horseshoe sort of deal. Boo. Obviously, this is traditionally foo, but with a little couple of more squirt marks right there. Buta.
豚
Buta.
豚
Buta.
ぶ
Boot. Like Majin Buu. This has potential to be the best tracing job we've ever done. That was sick. Oh yeah. Be, obviously this is he traditionally, but with the quotation marks it turns into be.
べ
Bento.
弁当
Bento. And bo, obviously is traditionally ho, as in your mom's a hoe, but with these little squirt marks up here, it makes it bo. Bushi.
帽子
Boshi.
帽子
Boshi.
ぼ
Bo. Almost sounds like they're saying bullshit. Alright. Boo. Oh, we almost misclicked. That could have been terrible. Be. Be is this one. Ba. This one right here. Be. Bo is that one. All right, time to rip open a pack here, see what we get. Oh shit, Yu-Gi-Oh collab, back-to-back fire pulls. Let's fucking go. Hell yeah. You already know that card right there that's the final piece of Exodia bro needs. Exodia is getting summoned today. Alright. 5 more. It says Pa with the little degree thing at the top right. Denpa.
電波
Denpa.
電波
Denpa. Pe. Hoppe.
ほっぺ
Hoppe.
ほっぺ
Hoppe. It's like the peak of a mountain with a moon. It's actually a very good monomic. I would like that. It might be the best one I've seen, low key. So this little degree symbol seems to indicate that there will be a P starting word. Sha, shashin,
写真
shashin,
写真
shashin. This one's kind of weird. Worm and bowls. How the hell is that worm and I mean, I understand how this is worm, but bowls? Not so sure. I see it. I think the best way to remember this one is to just remember that rule that obviously this is she, but when she is combined with something at the end, it typically takes the end of the second, the last letter of the second word. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. Have we already written it? No, okay. Oh shit, this one's a two-stepper. Boom. And then skadoosh. Oh yeah, we fucked that one up. Nice. Perfectly. Just how Coach drew it up. Show. Dokusho.
読書
Dokusho.
読書
Dokusho. One more time.
読書
Dokusho. Yeah. If we can just keep remembering that rule about she, we'll be golden. And shu is she plus you. Shumi is hobby.
趣味
Shumi.
趣味
Shumi. Okay. Very nice, very nice. Alright, pa is... Can't be either of these, so it's gotta be that one. Sha is she plus ya. Oh, ya. Shu is she plus you, so it must be that one. Show is she plus yo. And this one is, drumroll please, heh. Nice. Straight hundreds. Straight hundreds, no fugazi. Damn, we've reached level 8 already. We're fucking power leveling out here. Sheesh. And, oh shit. That's an exotic pole right there. There's only one of these in the world and we just got it. It's fucking crazy. Alright. Daily limit's been reached. So, we're just gonna do a little 40 piece here and then we'll move into some more auditory kind of practice. Ne is this one. Oh fuck. Off rip. Boo is that. Shu, she plus you right there. So is, that's gotta be that one. Yep. Re looks like a river. Ma or mo. T equals ta. Ta. Fuck. That's ass. I'm not doing well right now. It's ko. Tsu. Ka. She. Sha. Be. Show. Ka. A. I think it's this one. Let's go. So that is one that has traditionally stumped us up in the past for sure. Foom. Ra. Re. Fuck, that's I. Oh, we're starting to sell now. Sa. Pa. Na. Ga. U. Pa. Ho. I really want to say row. I want to say row so bad that I'm gonna, but it's wrong. That's crazy. It's actually rare. Okay, so Reva's TikTok icon right there. So this is rare. Good to know. Bo. Zoo. Goat. Newt. Hi. We said this is row. Goo 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 goo. Gee. Oh, I almost clicked ka. That is not ka. That is da. Zo. I believe it's this one. Yep. Ya. Okay, I mean, we missed 4. It's not the best, but I mean, it could be worse. This one's ta. I. Ra. Nah. Damn. Okay, so now is that one. 90%, not bad, but we want to be doing better if we're being honest. Oh shit. Damn, we're just pulling all the mythic pulls today. It's a bottle of milk. What is that? See, I was going to try and read what it says here, but I don't know. I don't know what those are, unfortunately. Alright, so we did pretty good on our reviews today. Level 8 Japanese warlord over here. So, you know, nothing crazy. But yeah, let's get into, I guess, a bit of auditory practice. Changing trains at Shinjuku Station.
皆さんこんにちは。ここは甲府駅です。今日は電車に乗って
Actually, let's go
三宮橋
Yoyogoki or Yoyogi Park at night. This video might have some aura to it, fellas.
You're not ready for it.
EVE Online? Yeah, I don't know, bro. I don't know. Oh shit, it just rained
皆さ
too?
んこんにちは。
Konnichiwa.
ここは代々木公園です。今日は夜の代々木公園とそこから三宮橋への夜の道を紹介します。スケルトイレやブルガリア大使館も
Transparent toilet,
出て
bro?
きます。
That's
ぜ
crazy.
ひ楽しんでみてください。さて、この日は11月
November 27th.
27日で
It's
す。
like damn near 6 months ago.
葉
Who
っ
knows?
ぱがたくさん落ちています。紅葉がそろそろ終わる時期です。走っている人たちが見えますね。結構速いですね。
They're zooming out here. Got
あ
some
そこには
speedsters.
ドッグランがあります。犬が走ってますね。その横は広場になっています。代々木公園は東京で5番目に大きい公園です。
Oh, they're playing baseball.
原宿に近いので
Actually, Shohei Ohtani right there.
遊びに来る
Back when he was a
人が
kid.
たくさんいます。この親子はバッティングの練習をしています。こっちの2人は 漫才の練習をしています。
Oh, this is actually something we might be able to decipher here. So this is n. I don't recognize that one, unfortunately. I mean, I kind of do, but it's like, it kind of looks like that one that we said is a TikTok emoji, but it's like backwards. Let's see.
練習をしています。こっちの二人は漫才の練習をしています。
Manzai? Is that what that is?
こっちの二人は漫才の練習をしています。
Manzai? Manzai? No. I don't know. I didn't mean to look up what. I don't know.
漫才というのは面
Oh
白い
wait,
こと
it is manzai. Okay, so this is za then. Manzai.
人を笑わせるものです。飛行機が飛んでいきます。こちらに飛行機がもう一機飛んでいます。この時の時間は4時半ぐらいです。
4:30 p.m. Nice little evening stroll. Look at how many people are
いい
outside.
天気の日でした。
Incredible.
この集団は大学のサークルっぽいですね。
Ah, it's a university club.
サークルっていうのは
Universidad.
みたいなものです。
I don't know what these symbols are, unfortunately.
漫才の練習
They
を
were
していまし
practicing
た。
manzai. Okay.
手前の木は葉っぱが落ちてしまっていますが、その向こうの木は赤くて綺麗ですね。これはいろはもみじです。いろはって何なのか知りたい人は
What does is that I? Iriha? Nope, that is not what that was.
この
Let's see if we can
葉
sound
って何
this.
なのか。いろはって何なのか知りたい人はぜひこの動画を見てください。
I think it's a lost cause, unfortunately.
いろは歌というものから来てるんですが、
Iroha.
その説明をしていま
Is
す
that real?
というものから来てるんですが、ぜひこの動画を
It is real. Okay. Iroha. Iroha. Japanese singer, 17 years old, born in 2008. God damn, that makes me feel old. Iroha. Basics ABCs.
見てください。いろは歌というものから来てるんですが、その説明をしています。ここは人が多いですね。ここは 人が全然いません。とっても綺麗ですね。また人が増えてきました。この黄色い葉っ
Not sure
ぱ
why
の
my
木は
drop frames are so bad right now. It's kind of crazy.
電気が当たっているところは真っ黄色ですね。真っ黄色というのはすっごく黄色ということです。
Oh wait, hold on. Sorry, I was a bit distracted. I saw that my dropped frames were 50%. It's fucking shit. Matsu. I don't know what that is. Matsu Ira?
ごく黄色、真っ黄色というのは
Makiro?
黄色ということです。雪がすっごく白いときは真っ白と言います。
Masshiro. Masshiro. Okay.
すっごく黄色ということです。雪がすっごく白いときは真っ白と言います。赤は真っ赤、青、
Mosquito.
赤は真っ
Makkawa. Is that how you do it? Makkawa.
赤は真っ赤、青は真っ青になり
Makkawa.
ます。遠くから見ると黄色が見えて
It
綺麗です
does
ね。
look quite nice, I will admit.
疲れたのでベンチで休むことにします。ベンチに座ります。若い人たちが来ましたよ。
Oh, they're
ボー
throwing
ル
the
で遊
baseball
んで
around?
います。楽しそうですね。その上を飛行機が飛んでいきます。スーツケースを持った人たちが通り過ぎていきます。出張でしょうか。スケボーの人も通り過ぎていきます。だいぶ暗くなりました。
Damn, it has gotten quite dark.
そろそろ移動します。
Are you struggling in your calculus class? Do you have a hard time understanding your
No.
instructor?
No,
Do you wish there was a simpler way?
no.
I get it. It's frustrating. You go to class expecting answers only to walk away with more questions. And because your teacher and your textbooks
No
give
offense
those
to
important
anyone, but
in-between steps, you
she
lose
got
valuable
crazy
study time
eyes, man.
Googling homework.
You gotta watch out for them crazy eyes out here. Alright, so now we're gonna change gears into a little bit engineering focus. I actually seen this one right here that kind of strikes an interest in me a little bit. Excuse me. Petrol versus diesel.
Were you all kidding?
I assume petrol is just standard gasoline. Petrol versus gasoline. Okay, petrol is the British term for gasoline. Okay. Yeah, let's see what the different. Go in a bit of an engineering focus. See what the main difference is between a petrol and a diesel. I know that diesel typically gets used up more. I
A
think.
petrol and a diesel engine, upon first glance, they look very similar.
And that makes sense because after all, both are internal combustion engines. They do their combustion internally, which results in them having very similar anatomy. Both petrol and diesel engines have a cylinder block and a cylinder head, some camshafts, some valves, some pistons, a crankshaft, and some rods.
Can't forget that
The anatomy
crankshaft
is
now.
very similar. What's different is the way they do their combustion. And a more accurate term to describe petrol and diesel engines is actually spark ignition and compression ignition engines. Now, all commercially available petrol engines are spark ignition engines, meaning that they have a spark plug in the combustion chamber. And what the spark plug does is, well, it creates a spark. Now, to create a spark, the spark plug needs voltage, and the voltage is supplied by the vehicle's ignition system. On older vehicles, the ignition system consists of a distributor and an igniter, but on newer vehicles, the ignition system is distributor-less, and instead we have coil packs or a coil on plug ignition system. But regardless of the kind of the ignition system, they all work the same way. As we said, they provide voltage to the spark plug, a lot of voltage, usually in excess of 20,000 volts. And what this voltage does is that it starts ionizing the gases or the air-fuel mixture in the spark channel. And what this does is that it converts the gases from electrical insulators to electrical conductors, allowing a current
I'm
of
gonna
electrons
rewind this because
and what this voltage, a lot of voltage, usually in excess of 20,000 volts.
it's
And
a
what
shit
this
ton of
voltage
volts.
does is that it starts ionizing the gases or the air-fuel mixture in the spark channel. And what this does is that it converts the gases from electrical insulators to electrical conductors, allowing a current of electrons to arc from the main electrode of the spark plug to the side or ground electrode of the spark plug. This current of electrons intensely raises the heat in the spark channel, and it causes the gases there to rapidly expand outward. This starts a chain reaction known as deflagration. Now, deflagration is a bit of a weird word, but what you have to know about it is that it's a combustion process that occurs subsonically through heat transfer, meaning that the first layer of hot gases transfers the heat to the next cold layer, and so on until all of the gases are burned away. From an engineering perspective, deflagration is good and desirable because it's pretty even and controllable. It's ideal to get an object moving, for example, a piston in a cylinder bore. Now let's see how a diesel initiates combustion. Well, in a diesel engine, there's no spark plugs, no spark, no ignition
So
coil,
diesel engines have
nothing.
no spark
A
plug. That's
diesel
interesting.
initiates combustion purely by compressing the air. The air in a diesel engine gets compressed to a much higher degree than in a petrol engine. And as we know, as the air gets compressed more and more, it also heats up. And as the piston in a diesel engine reaches top dead center, the air gets so hot due to the compression that it's hot enough to ignite the diesel fuel as it's introduced to the combustion chamber. And this is why a diesel engine is also called a compression ignition engine. What creates ignition is the compression of the air. And what's different isn't just the way combustion is initiated, it's also the timing of the introduction of the fuel into the combustion chamber. A petrol engine introduces fuel earlier than a diesel, during the intake stroke of the engine. And the fuel and air inside a petrol engine are already properly mixed before the spark plug fires. Compared to this, a diesel introduces fuel much later, during the compression stroke of the engine. Fuel can only be introduced when the air is hot enough to ignite the fuel. And of course, the air is hottest when it's most compressed. And this is why the diesel only introduces fuel very late in the compression stroke, just before the piston hits top dead center. Unlike petrol engines, which can feature port injection or direct injection, or both, a modern diesel engine almost always features only direct injection, meaning that fuel is directly injected into the combustion chamber using some form of nozzle, or more commonly, an injector. And when a diesel injector fires, it sends a mist of very small droplets of fuel into the combustion chamber that is now filled with highly compressed, very hot air. This is the beginning of the injection process. As the fuel droplets meet with the hot air, they start to vaporize and mix with it. The piston continues to travel towards top dead center, further compressing the air, which now reaches a temperature high enough to ignite the vaporized fuel. At this point, rapid ignition of the small amount of premixed fuel and air occurs. The time between the start of the injection and the start of the ignition is called the ignition delay in a diesel engine. The rapid ignition that occurs at the end of the ignition delay creates a sharp cylinder pressure spike. This rapid ignition of the initial premixed fuel and the sudden increase in the combustion pressure is what generates the characteristic knocking or clattering sound of the diesel. This initial part of the combustion process is also often called uncontrolled combustion because combustion may start at any
Sounds like a
one
fucking
or multiple
dope ass
points in the
heavy
chamber.
metal band
As
of
injection
controlled
can start at
combustion.
any is also often called uncontrolled combustion because combustion may start
That's
at
actually
any one
a sick
or
little band
multiple
name.
points in the chamber. As injection continues, the new fuel is sprayed into an already burning mixture, which dramatically increases the rate of vaporization, and this fuel starts burning almost instantly after it leaves the nozzle. Because the uncontrolled combustion stage has raised the temperature enough and created enough turbulence that combustion in the following stage can be controlled by controlling the injection. This part of the combustion process is also called controlled combustion. After the injection process is finished, some fuel molecules that fail to create a combustible mixture will remain unburned in the chamber. These less volatile molecules will undergo combustion as the piston travels further down the bore, and most will be burned away by the time the piston reaches bottom dead center. Now that we have seen the differences in the combustion process of petrol and diesel engines, let's see how these differences result in these two different engines having very different natures and being good at different things. Now, one of the key differences between petrol and diesel engines can be observed without even looking at the engine. All you have to do is sit inside the car and look at the tachometer. Petrol and diesel engines have very different redlines. Most diesels rev to anywhere between 4.5 to 5,000 RPM. Compared to this, petrol engines rev much higher, anywhere between 6 and 9,000 RPM.
So it seems like
Now, there's
petrol
three
might
main reasons
naturally
why
be
diesels don't rev as high.
more
The
efficient.
first reason, and the one that's easiest to understand, is that diesel engines require heavy, beefy, strong internals. They need strong internals because they experience much higher combustion pressures compared to petrol engines. What's especially important are those combustion pressure spikes that occur during the uncontrolled combustion process we just covered. If the engine internals were fragile, they would simply fall apart during the uncontrolled combustion process. This is why diesels need strong and therefore heavy internals. But heavy internals have a price. They are harder to spin and they limit the max RPM. The second reason why diesels don't rev as high is that most diesel engines are under square by design, meaning that they have a much longer stroke compared to their bore. And although this is good because it allows diesels to make a lot of torque early in the rev range, it also too limits max RPM potential. But the third and perhaps most important reasons why diesels don't rev as high is that they can't really control ignition timing. A petrol engine that has a spark plug and an ECU and an ignition coil can fire the spark plug at any point in the compression stroke of the engine. This is called ignition advance, and petrol engines rely on it to keep making power at higher engine speeds. As the RPM increases, so too does the speed of the piston, and the spark plug is going to fire earlier in the compression stroke to account for the increased speed of the piston, to make sure that the flame front starts fully propagating and that maximum combustion pressure is generated at the right time, when the piston starts moving down the bore. Now, a diesel engine can't do this. It cannot have a wide range of ignition timing control because it cannot start the combustion event sooner or later than when the air is fully compressed. And the air is always fully compressed at the same point in the piston's travel, at top dead center. And although diesel engines do have injection timing, due to the compression ignition nature of the engine, the range of injection...
So essentially petrol engines are considered more efficient, especially in operating at higher RPMs, partially because the spark plug makes the whole engine system more like flexible, I guess you'd say, due to the fact they can be fired at any time throughout the cycle, whereas diesel injection process is like it doesn't have that spark plug, obviously, so it's much more, I guess, set in its ways, whereas petrol engines, you know, are
timing is
fairly
much more
flexible
narrow compared to the
in
range
their
of ignition
process.
advance of petrol engines. And this is why diesels usually stop revving right at the point where petrol engines start incorporating more and more ignition advance. Now there's another factor on top of all of this, and that's that diesel fuel burns slower than petrol fuel. And this is another reason why high RPMs would essentially be wasted on a diesel. At high piston speeds, the piston speed would actually be too high, and the slowly propagating flame front of the diesel would miss the piston. By the time maximum combustion pressures were generated, the piston would be too far down the bore, and the diesel would actually make less power at higher RPM. But thinking that not revving high is a failure on part of the diesel would be wrong. The diesel doesn't rev high because it doesn't need to rev high. It does everything it needs to do at the low RPMs it has. And although this does result in a more narrow power band compared to the petrol, it does have a very important benefit. Diesels are long-lived. The heavy internals, strong internals, and the long red line help diesels last a long time. We all know that engine wear
So petrols versus diesel would essentially be more efficiency at a reduced lifespan in petrols versus obviously the alternative, which is diesel, which is less horsepower or less, I guess, power output, but with an increased longevity lifespan. Interesting.
exponentially increases with RPM, and this is why on average diesel engines last longer than petrol ones. When the piston inside your engine is at the bottom of its travel, at the bottom of its stroke, at bottom dead center, that's the largest cylinder volume of your engine. When your piston is at top dead center, that's the smallest volume of your cylinder. The ratio, the difference between these two volumes, determines the compression ratio of your engine. And it's a very important number for every engine, and because it determines a lot of things for the engine. Now when it comes to diesels, diesels have a much higher compression ratio than petrol engines, and this results in one of the few very noticeable anatomy differences between petrol and diesel engines. Here we have a combustion chamber of a petrol engine, and here we have a combustion chamber, or lack thereof, in a typical modern diesel engine. Here we have a typical modern petrol engine piston. And here we have a typical modern diesel engine piston. As you can see, the smallest volume in a petrol engine is achieved by the combustion chamber. However, this volume would be too large for the diesel, so it uses instead a void in the piston to achieve the smallest volume of its cylinder. And of course, the void in the piston is smaller than the combustion chamber, leading to a smallest volume of a diesel, which results in a higher compression ratio. Now, a higher compression ratio is better because the more you compress the air and fuel, the smaller the area in which it combusts, the higher the force applied onto the piston. To help you visualize why a higher compression ratio is better, you can imagine a stick of dynamite being detonated in two different rooms, one small room and one large room. So what do you think? The walls of which room are going to see more damage from the explosion? Of course, the walls in the small room, because they're closer to the source of the expanding explosion of the energy. And the same thing happens in an engine. The closer the piston to the source of the combustion, the more force is going to be exerted on top of the piston. And that means that with a higher compression ratio, you're making more power. It also means that your engine is more efficient with a higher compression ratio because you're harnessing more energy from the same amount of air and fuel. So why don't petrol engines run the high compression ratios that diesel engines have? Well, they can't because they're knock limited. Now, the combustion process inside the petrol engine should only be initiated by the spark plug, and all the air and fuel should be burned away only by the propagating flame front. When combustion spontaneously occurs outside the flame front in a petrol engine, that's called knock. Knock sharply raises the combustion pressures inside the engine, and if it continues to occur over time, it will destroy a petrol engine. So, of course, it's
So knock is essentially, obviously, as he just said, I'm just trying to explain it so I can understand it better. It's when internal combustion occurs as a result of something other than the spark plug, as we can see here. Let me rewind it.
Desirable. Now, knock can occur inside a petrol engine because the petrol engine is compressing both air and fuel. And if there's enough compression or too much of it, if the temperatures get high enough, then the mixture can spontaneously combust outside the flame front. And this is why petrol engines must maintain a lower compression ratios to account for knock and to prevent it from happening. Compared to this, a diesel engine is compressing only air. There's no fuel, so there's nothing that can spontaneously combust. Inside a diesel engine, fuel is introduced only when combustion is supposed to happen. This is why knock isn't an issue inside a diesel engine. Because they don't have to worry about knock, diesels can run a much higher compression ratio, anywhere between 15 to 1 to 23 to 1. Compared to this, a modern naturally aspirated petrol engine usually has a compression ratio between 11 to 12 to 1. Although there are some outliers that run a 14 to 1 compression ratios, they are an exception, and the average is between 11 to 12 to 1. As you can see, much lower than a diesel engine. But forced induction petrol engines have to run an even lower compression ratio between 8 to 5 to 10 to 1, because they have to account for the fact that the turbocharger or supercharger is sending in already compressed air. And if you compress it even further, increase its temperature even further, then the chance for knock increases. And this is why forced induction petrol engines have to account for this and compensate with a slightly lower
So it seems like petrol engines are naturally kind of need to be more maintained, especially with that compression ratio and, keeping their temperature down, because you want to reduce the odds of knock occurring.
Ratio. This is also why tuning forced induction petrol engines is more challenging than tuning a forced induction diesel, a turbocharged diesel, and this is why you can run more boost with less risk in a diesel engine. Now let's see how all of this results in diesel engines being better at making torque and petrol engines being better at making horsepower. Now, torque is essentially force applied at a distance. This is what the measurement units for torque express, after all. When you're tightening down bolts with a wrench, you're actually applying torque to the bolts. The force is what you're doing with your hand, and the distance is the length of your wrench. This is why you use a longer wrench to apply more torque to the bolts, because you're increasing the distance in the force and distance equation, resulting in more torque. Now, the same thing is actually happening inside your engine. Your hand, or the force, is actually the combustion process inside the engine, which applies force on top of the piston. The distance, the length of the wrench, is actually the length of the connecting rod and the crank throws. Now, because diesel engines have more stroke, they need more stroke to compress the air more, they actually have more distance in the force and distance equation. And because they compress the air and fuel more, they generate more powerful combustions, which means more force in the distance and force equation, and all of this results in diesels making more torque. What is horsepower? Well, horsepower is torque multiplied by RPM. Now, petrol engines make less torque, but they rev higher, much higher, and this results in more work done over the same period of time, which results in petrol engines making more horsepower.
Stop researching with ChatGPT.
Well, it's up to everything else we've
Its
learned.
information is not reliable.
Essentially,
and you
petrols, obviously, as he just said, and I keep repeating, they have more horsepower, but they're effective over a less quantity of time, because honestly, due to the durability of their parts, as he said, that diesel engines typically have heavier, sturdier, more quality parts in their setup.
Petrol engines typically have a thermal efficiency between 20 and 35%, with some modern petrol engines managing around 37 to 38% thermal.
So just a quick guess, since diesel engines A, don't have the spark plug, and B, operate at less higher RPMs, I would assume personally that they operate at a lower thermal efficiency. But then again, as he just said, or as he said earlier, petrol engines have to naturally watch their thermals in order to ensure knock doesn't happen. So, do I think that I would imagine that petrol engines operate at a lower thermal than diesel simply for the fact that the components in a petrol engine aren't as sturdy, aren't as durable, and therefore would be weathered less or would be more susceptible from weathering from thermal. So
efficiency.
just talking in a
37%
circle, I
thermal
guess.
efficiency means that 37% of the energy generated by combustion is turned into useful work. The rest is simply wasted as heat. Compared to this, diesels are more efficient and can manage a thermal efficiency of around 40 to 45%. So why are diesels more efficient? Well, the reason number one is, as we already said, compression. Because diesels are able to compress the air-fuel mixture more, they can squeeze more energy out of the same amount of air and fuel. The other reason why diesels are more efficient is simply because they use less fuel. Now, the stoichiometric air-fuel ratio for diesel fuel is 14.5 to 1. The stoichiometric air-fuel ratio for petrol fuel is 14.7 to 1. A stoichiometric air-fuel ratio is an ideal air-fuel ratio at which all of the fuel is burned away with none of the air left behind. So for a ratio of 14.7 to 1, we need 14.7 units of air for every single unit of fuel. When you increase the amount of air in this ratio, you're creating a lean mixture. When you reduce the amount of air in this ratio, you're creating a rich mixture. Now, petrol engines, depending on the load, can run on both sides of the air-fuel ratio. Typically, at idle and at cruise conditions, petrol engines run lean. But at wide open throttle, at full load, petrol engines must run rich, and forced induction petrol engines need to run even richer. Compared to this, diesels are very different. Diesels never run rich. They always run lean. Modern turbocharged diesel engines can manage an idle air-fuel ratio of around 160 to 1. As you can see, compared to petrol, this is extremely lean, and there's a lot more air in the diesel than fuel. And only at wide open throttle, at full load, do diesels sort of start to approach a stoichiometric air-fuel ratio, but again, even at full load, they are still pretty lean. And this means that inside a diesel engine cylinder, there's always more air than fuel. And this leads to a difference in how petrol and diesel engines modulate their power. When you press down on the throttle pedal in a petrol engine car, you're actually operating the engine's throttle body. The throttle body is a butterfly valve which dictates how much air is coming into the engine. The more you press on the throttle pedal, the more the butterfly valve is open and the more air is coming into the engine. Then the engine's ECU uses various sensors to determine, based on the amount of air, how much fuel should be injected into the engine. When you press down the throttle pedal in a diesel-equipped vehicle, you're not operating any sort of butterfly valve. Instead, you're dictating the amount of fuel that goes into the engine. Now, don't be confused. Many modern diesels actually do have something that looks like a throttle body on them. But when you're pressing on the throttle pedal, you're not operating this butterfly valve. The butterfly valve on the diesels is actually used to improve the efficiency of the engine's exhaust gas recirculation system. So why don't petrol engines run with these same extremely lean air-fuel ratios as diesel engines do? Well, petrol engines can't do this because the air-fuel mixture in petrol engines is homogeneous. In diesel engines, the air-fuel mixture is heterogeneous. A homogeneous air-fuel mixture means that all of the air and fuel is evenly mixed. A heterogeneous or a stratified air-fuel mixture means that only one part of the air is mixing with the fuel in the diesel engine, and this allows them to run extremely lean. An extremely lean condition in a petrol engine is running a lot hotter and is also more prone to knock, and this is why petrol engines must avoid it. But another reason why diesel engines manage to be more efficient than petrol engines is the fuel itself. Diesel fuel is composed of longer chains of hydrocarbons compared to petrol fuel, and because of this, it is more energy dense. For the same amount of volume, diesel fuel has around 15% more energy stored in it. But fuel efficiency is only one part of the economy equation. Now, diesel engined cars and light trucks and other vehicles are typically more expensive to purchase when new. They're also usually more expensive in the used car market. diesel engines are more complex, which means they're more expensive to manufacture, which leads to a higher end price for consumers. Another thing that has been changing for the diesel is that increased pollution awareness, as well as stuff like the Dieselgate scandal, has been driving change in diesel-related taxation and legislation, which means that it has been changing the resale values of diesels in various markets around the world. In some markets where diesels used to have a strong resale value, this has started changing, and it's now hard to rely on the strong resale values of diesels. As a typical rule of thumb, you have to drive enough for a diesel to make financial sense. You have to cover enough miles to harness the increased fuel efficiency of the diesel. Otherwise, if you're not covering enough miles, a petrol is likely going to make more financial sense.
I'd be willing to bet that petrols are maybe more safe for the environment than diesels.
Between environment-harming CO2 and health-harming nitrogen oxides and soot particles. Diesels emit less CO2 simply because they use less fuel. But the high-temperature, high-pressure stratified combustion process in the diesel actually favors the production of nitrogen oxides and soot particles. Now, things aren't actually that simple, and they aren't really black and white. Fact is that many air quality monitoring agencies across the world in different countries have done many independent road tests of equivalent vehicles equipped with equivalent petrol and diesel engines. And almost all of them have found that the CO2 emissions gap between petrol and diesel engines is negligible, usually around 3 to 5 grams of CO2 per kilometer. And when it comes to nitrogen oxide and soot particle emissions, modern diesel engines of a Euro 6 or equivalent emission standard are actually pretty clean because they have some very complex emissions equipment. Stuff like diesel particulate filters and diesel exhaust fluid injection are actually used to either trap or chemically convert the vast majority, more than 90% of the nitrogen oxides and soot particles. So when they're new, both petrol and diesel engines are pretty clean as long as they're maintained properly. Problems actually start to arise when diesel and petrol engine cars hit the used market. And this is where the diesel is at a disadvantage. Because the emissions equipment of a diesel engine is pretty complex, it's also very expensive. And the replacement of a diesel particulate filter on a vehicle that's 5 to 10 years old can amount to as much as 50 to 30% of the value of the entire
So repairs with diesels as
very hard to justify this replacement for an
they relate to specifically emissions, and their filters can be really expensive then at over, especially after a period of time, a significant period of time rather.
And emission tests at the end of the day actually monitors the vehicle only once every 1 or 2 years. The remaining 364 days, the vehicle isn't really monitored, and it's free to do quite a bit of pollution. Something else that puts the diesel at a disadvantage when it comes to pollution is that diesel engines are heavier and more complex, meaning that they use more materials and more parts to be made. And this is why their manufacture creates more pollution. On the other hand, diesel engines typically last longer before they need to be recycled.
Fun factor. I'd imagine the fun factor is probably higher with a petrol because of the higher output.
That being said, on a tight, twisty road, it's very hard to argue against a petrol engine. It has a wider power band and a better soundtrack, and although it will give you less miles per gallon, on a road like this, it's going to give you more smiles per gallon. Another thing that works against the diesel when it comes to fun is weight. Diesel engines are typically pretty heavy, usually noticeably heavier than an equivalent petrol engine, and this of course negatively impacts the dynamic balance of a vehicle. And this is why, for example, front-wheel drive vehicles equipped with a diesel engine are always going to be more prone to understeer compared to the same vehicle with an equivalent petrol engine. But saying that diesels aren't fun would be very wrong. Diesels can provide the sensation of massive torque, and this can be very addictive. On top of this, diesels have greater autonomy, which means they can do more miles with the same amount of fuel.
712 miles to the gallon is insane. Not miles to the gallon, but miles to E.
Adventure and exploration vehicles. And there you have it. That's pretty much it for comparison between petrol and diesel engines helps you better understand how they're different, why they're different, and how this impacts their different behavior and application.
Nice.
As always, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll be seeing you soon with more fun and useful.
This dude's a beast, as I've said earlier. Definitely recommend Bro's channel. Alright, we're going to get into a little bit of math today. Not too much, but we'll go into the Greek Khan Academy. All roads lead to Khan Academy at the end of the day, whether you like it or not. Alright, let's do... So I've already done this for the most part in college, although I'm a couple years removed, so it's obviously I'm not going to get everything right, but due to that fact, I think it'd be interesting. To go into here, I guess, learn about some electrical engineering.
All right, now we're going to talk about the idea of an electric current. And the story about current starts with the idea of charge. So we've learned that we have two kinds of charges, positive and negative charge. We'll just make up two little charges like that. And we know if they're the opposite sign, that there'll be a force of attraction between them. And if they have two like signs, here's two charges that are both positive. And these charges are going to repel each other. So this is the basic electrostatics idea. And the same thing for two minus charges, they also repel. So like charges repel and unlike charges attract. That's one idea. So we have the idea of charge. And now we need a place to get some charge. And one of the places we like to get charge from is copper wires. A copper atom looks like this. A copper atom has a nucleus with some protons in it, and it also has electrons flying around the outside, electrons in orbits around the outside. So we'll draw the electrons like this. So there'll be orbits around this nucleus. Pretty good circles. And there'll be electrons in these little minus signs. There's electrons stacked up in this. And even farther out, there's electrons. So there's a kind of a interesting looking copper atom. Copper, the symbol for copper is Cu, and its atomic number is 29. 29. That means there's 29 protons inside here, and there's 29 electrons outside. And it turns out, just as a coincidence for copper, that the last orbital out here has just one electron in it. That guy right there. And that's the one that is the easiest to pull away from copper and have it go participate in conduction, in electric current. So when if I have a chunk of copper, every copper atom will have the opportunity to contribute this one lonely electron out here. If we look at another element, like for instance silver has this same kind of a electron configuration where there's just one out here, and that's why silver and copper are such good conductors. All right, so now we're going to let's build a copper wire. Here's sort of a copper wire. It's just made of solid copper. It's all full of copper atoms. And I'm going to put a voltage across this. There's our little battery. This is the minus sign. This is the plus side. And we'll hook up a battery to this. And what's going on in here? Inside this copper is a whole bunch of electrons that are
They flow from positive to negative.
Associated with atoms. It's a neutral.
One of the
videos
we watched correctly.
There's the same number of protons as there is electrons. But these electrons are a little bit loose. So if I put a plus over here, That's this situation right here where a plus is attracting a minus. And so an electron is going to sort of wander over this way and go like that. And that's going to leave sort of a net positive charge in this region. And so these electrons are all going to start moving in this direction. And down at the end, here, an electron is going to come out of this battery, travel in here, and it's going to go in there and make up the difference. So if I had a net positive charge here from the electrons leaving and going to the left, this battery would fill those in. And I'm going to get a net movement of charge, of negative charge, around in this direction like this. The question is, well, how do I measure that? How do I measure or give a number to that amount of stuff that's going on? So we want to quantify that. We want to assign a number to the amount of current happening here. So what we do is in our heads, we put a boundary across here. So just make that up in your head. And it cuts all the way through the copper. And what we know, we're going to stand right here. And we're going to keep our eye right on this boundary down in here.
So we're just
and as we
finding a
watch,
given
what we're
point
going to
in
do
the
is
copper
we're going to count
wire.
the number of electrons that move by here. And we're going to have a stopwatch and we're going to time that. And so we're going to get, basically this is charge, it's negative charge, and it's moving to the side. And what we're going to do is at one little spot right here, we're just going to count the number that go by in 1 second. And so we're going to get charge per second. And it's going to be a negative charge moving by. And that's what we call current. And it's the same as water flowing by in a river. That's the same idea. All right, now I'm going to set up a different situation that also produces a current. And this time we're going to do it with water and salt. So here's just, let's build a tube of salt water like this. So we're going to pretend this is some tube that's all full of water. I'm also going to put a battery here. Let's put another battery. And we'll stick the wire into there, and we'll stick the wire into there. And this is the plus side of the battery, and this is the minus side of the battery. So water is H2O, and this does not conduct. There's no free electrons available here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some table salt in it. This is ordinary salt that you put on your food, and it's made of sodium. That's the symbol for sodium, and chloride. Cl is chloride. Sodium chloride is table salt. If we sprinkle some table salt into water, what happens is these dissolve, and we get a net plus charge here and a net minus charge on the chlorine. So out here is floating around NAs with plus signs and Cls nearby, really close nearby, with minuses. Let's keep it even, all right? Now, when I dip my battery wires into this water, what's going to happen is this plus charge over here from the battery is going to attract the minus Cls.
Yep.
So the Cl is going to move that way a little bit. And over here, the same thing is happening. There's a minus sign here. There's a minus from the battery. And that's going to attract this. And it's also going to repel the Cl minuses. And so what we get is a net motion of positive charge plus Q going this way. And we get minus Q going this way. And how do we measure that current? How do we measure that current? Well, we do it the same way as we did up there.
You just pick maybe two.
We put a
no,
boundary
you just
through
put it
here
in
in
one
our
spot.
heads.
Okay.
We stand here and we watch the charges moving by. And what we're going to get is some sodiums, NAs, moving this way, and chlorines moving this way, just like we showed here. Na moving this way. And so there's going to be plus charges moving through the boundary and minus charges moving through the boundary in the opposite direction. And if I take the total sum of that, for example, if I see one Na go this way and one Cl go this way, that's equivalent to two charges moving through the boundary. Hope that makes sense. It's equivalent to two charges, one going this way and one going this way. And because they have opposite signs, they add together and make two charges.
Okay, so
In
we
this
don't
case,
cancel out there.
Current is equal, again, to charge per second.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, we'll go to the next video then. Current direction.
In the last video, we talked about the meaning of current, and current is defined to be the movement of charge, amount of charge per second. We looked at a copper wire where electrons are carrying the current. And we looked also at a salt solution where both positive and negative ions are carrying the current across this imaginary boundary where we keep track of how many charges are moving. So now, next we need to talk about how do we define a positive current? What does a positive current mean? So I'm going to move this up a little bit. And we're going to get to something that causes some confusion, but we'll try to clear it up here. The positive sign, this is a convention that we use. The positive sign for current is the direction that positive charges move. So that's the direction
Of a
this
negative.
is the direction a positive sodium ion moves. This is the direction a negative chlorine ion moves. When I assign a positive direction to the current, the overall positive direction is going to be in this direction. That's
From positive to negative.
current. Plus current.
So the plus current moves from positive to negative. The negative current moves from negative
right.
to positive.
And the same thing actually holds for a wire. If I draw, let's go back and draw my wire again. If I draw my copper wire, and inside there, we know that all these little electrons, all the electrons are moving in that direction. So Q minus is moving in that direction. And when I assign a direction for the arrow for current, the current arrow points this way, plus current. So for instance, if I had 10 electrons per second that were moving in this direction here, I would say the current is plus 10 charges per second in this direction. And you ask yourself, if it's always electrons carrying current, why on earth do we point the arrow in the other way? And that actually goes back, way back in history, to our friend Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin is the person who basically made a decision that said the charge on an electron is minus. Now, when he made that decision, nobody knew there was such a thing as an electron. So Ben Franklin
Suit's penmanship's pretty nice.
And that was in the year 1747. Ben Franklin's a person who assigned plus and minus as being the two types of charge that existed. And when he did that, he had no idea, nobody had any idea that there was such a thing as an electron. Electron was discovered by a physicist named J.J. Thomson in the year 1897.
Over 100 years later.
That was when the
150
electron was
years
discovered.
later.
And believe it or not, if we do the subtraction here, look at this. It's 150 years. For 150 years of electric research, we were able to figure out a lot of really good things, assigning current going in the opposite direction of electrons in metal. And it's all okay. It's all okay. One of the questions that's often asked by new students is, well, why don't we switch it around so the current points this way? Why don't we assign an electron? Why don't we make current go this way?
Well, that would be a negative charge current, right?
So why didn't we just switch it around? Well, we had 150 years of experience, and now we've actually had another 120 since the discovery of the electron. And we've managed to get by with this. We have not chosen to do it. One of the reasons we don't do it is because it would basically, it would be a big mess.
It would
Imagine
flip
if, for
a whole
instance,
bunch
in,
of stuff if
say in
this is
United
the
States, we
foundations.
decided, oh, driving on the right side of the street is the wrong side of the street. We want to all drive on the left. Imagine the chaos that would cause. Now, before we made the change, everybody managed to get where we're going. And after the change, everybody would get there going. But the changeover would be just so costly. And the same thing with electricity. We can do perfectly well talking about current going the direction of a positive charge, just like we did here with the positive sodium going in an electric, going in this direction. This is actually how electricity is conducted in your body. So it's not uncommon to have positive charge moving around. That's the definition of current in a nutshell. We put a boundary across, and you watch the charges going through in either direction.
For a second,
Whichever
and that's your
direction they do.
current per
And
second.
you count up and you get Q per second. That's current.
Yeah. Yep. Come. Next video. How long is this one?
Voltage
Voltage.
is one of the most important quantities